And I think also there, whether we like it or not, that the digital trends are coming, right? Gradually they're coming, and they will put new requirements on our people and on our organizations, right? So if you think in the driverless logic, meaning assume we have a system in place that allows operations to be treated autonomously, automatically, right? How does that change what we expect from the people in our organization? The leader is the profile who sets the priorities. Okay? Why is that so important? In a human system, right, we can live, and we even like to live, in a world where there is a certain ambiguity. Right? So certain priorities are not really clear. Right? We prefer this customer to that one, but sometimes because this one it seems less satisfied, we move. Right? There is this ambiguity that we can work with. It's not necessarily very efficient. Right? It's not very predictable. But in our human world, it's okay. Right? The more we automate, the harder this becomes. We need to be clear on what the priorities are. And for that, we need a role of somebody stating very clearly what are the objectives, what are we aiming for, right? And then what are the preferences and the priorities, right? You know these stories with the driverless vehicles, right? You are on the road, and on the left-hand side you have an old lady crossing the road, and on the other side you have a child on a bike, and you have to choose to kill one of the two, right? Which is like an autonomous vehicle dilemma, right? Which one do you pick, right? In a human world, you don't necessarily have to predefine, right? With an algorithm, right, you'll have to set rules and priorities, right? Which one? Okay. What are the rules to respect? And the leader role is somebody in the company who sets those rules, priorities, preferences, etc. in such a way that it's very clear and explicit and aligned. What are the rules? What are the priorities? What are the preferences? Yeah. Profile number 2 is what I called the networker. Right? The networker is the profile that makes people in different silos work together. There will always be a natural tendency of people in operations to look at their own thing first. That's normal, right? If I'm in sales, right, and I'm in sales 50% of my time, sometimes my response as a sales guy is, I don't care, I want to do this deal, right? That's a natural reaction of somebody in sales. If I'm in operations, I will first think of operations and then of the others, right? That's a natural tendency. Right? So somebody in the organization needs to keep that focus on the end-to-end thing and needs to convince the others, right, that they need to work together. You can automate certain things, but in the end, sales is sales, production is production, purchasing is purchasing, and somebody will need to match things together. Right? It's a very different role than a decision maker, right? This is somebody who is kind of making the liaison and making sure that people actually talk to each other, that things are coordinated, etc. Right? It's also a motivating role, right? It's helping people to say, okay, let's call a meeting, let's do this, let's try to talk like they do cross visits, stuff like that, right? And create an environment where collaboration is possible. Right? So the networker is there to make the link across the chain. Right? It's a social person. Right? Here, the supply chain, the networker supply chain role is a social person. It's somebody who likes to talk with others, right? To be out there, to discuss, right? So it's relationship skills, it's seeing the big picture. It's a completely different role than the operational guy who passes the orders, right? And then there's role number 3, which is the analyst. Right? If you use systems, of course, systems need correction, needs improvement over time. So you'll need people who understand how the thing works, right? And improve it, right? Meaning, interact with operations to understand what is actually the goal of operations, right? You still need to know the real life, right? And then translate that into the models that are used, right? Without intervening in the outcome itself. Right? That's a trick, of course. You don't want to overrule the model all the time, right? Because that's just the idea of driverless, is that the model takes a decision, right? So you work on the parameters, you work on the logic, right? But you don't overrule the computer, right? There's still the dog that bites you when you touch a computer. You change the program, right? But you don't overrule the rules, right? That's also a new function in supply chain, right? I heard on different occasions people talk about those famous data scientists that you need to find, right? So the data scientist is the guy who has the solid technical knowledge, right? To actually understand the algorithm, right? Who can change it, right? That's what you need also, I think, internally. You need people who can change the algorithm, right? Because it's your algorithm, right? But on the other hand, that same person needs to be respected and connected to operations to know what's the real life. Right? If this is the outcome, is that the right outcome? Right? And then you come to three different profiles than what you have today. The operation is managed by the technology, right? But you still need somebody to make the calls, you need somebody to align, right? To make the relationship, and you need people who can actually modify the model and work on the model to make it more realistic.